Hi everyone, I'm back with another video today. I'm gonna tell you that I will be posting another video tomorrow with my schedule about when I want to post and when I don't want to post. So, yeah. But today, Sundroki Sharavo Putroyi Kitayamana Shundroyi Kandrashana Manatrateki. There's one gift of the Holy Spirit that I want to talk about, and that's interpretation of tongues. So, interpretation of tongues is where you can understand what somebody is saying in tongues and you translate it for people, because there are people who don't understand it, but there are some people who understand what they are saying in tongues, and it's a cool gift. I have this gift of interpretation of tongues. I don't really usually tell a lot of people I have this gift, the gift of interpretation of tongues, but for me, how this came about was I was asking God for the interpretation of tongues, and one day I was kneeled at the altar, and he said, "You have the interpretation of tongues," and I started laughing, and then ever since then, I've been able to interpret what people are saying in tongues. Now, for me, it's not a feeling knowing that that's what they're saying in English. It's that when I hear it, it comes in and it registers into English in my brain, and then I speak what they say into English and everything. So it's not the feeling that I know that they're saying it in English. I think there's some people who feel like that's what they're saying in English, but for me, I hear it and it comes in English, it registers into English in my brain, and then I speak out what they say in English. So most people, when I tell most people that I can interpret tongues, they're like, "Okay, I'm gonna speak in tongues, and I want you to tell me something I say." And sometimes it gets me like a minute or two to get completely what they're saying, and then sometimes it'll only be little bits and pieces, not just like full sentences of what they're saying. But if you want the gift of interpretation of tongues, just pray and ask God to give you the tongue of interpretations. Um, it's I it's not okay. So when somebody's speaking in tongues, and I'm like near them or something, it's not like I have to concentrate on what they're saying. I just listen to them speaking in tongues, and then it registers. I hear what I hear what they're saying, and then I repeat it. So, but I cannot understand myself when I'm speaking in tongues. There are a few times where I can, where I'll speak in tongues, and then he'll tell me what I said, but it's mostly I interpret what other people say. Um, So, like, if you said something in tongues, I could interpret it for you because I understood what you're saying. Um, so, it's really one of the coolest gifts that I've ever received from him. It was the one, besides, besides just speaking in tongues and being able to do all this stuff, I wanted to be able to understand what people were speaking in tongues because I wanted to be able to translate it. I didn't just want to be able to translate it. I wanted to understand what they were saying so that I could get more from it and stuff like that, if you know what I mean. And so it's a really really good gift to have. Not everybody has this gift, obviously, but it's cool when you do. Not saying that not everybody shouldn't have this gift, but if you want it, you just ask it, and then you ask for it, and then you receive it, and then it's your gift. So, you know, you'll be able to use it whenever, because it's not like here and there thing. It's like all the time. So when I'm at church or something and somebody speaks in tongues, or more than one person speaks in tongue, sometimes I can actually hear two different things that people are saying, which kind of gets a little mixed up, because there may be one person right here on the left side of me, and then there may be one person here on the right side of me, and they're both speaking in tongues, and I kind of hear what both of them are saying, and it kind of gets mixed up sometimes. But then I'll put my focus back, I'll just relax, and it'll get my focus back on which one I should tune into, like more like tune into, instead of the other one, and see what they say. But sometimes I'll go back and forth for people and see their perspective, or see their perspective on things. And it's quite cool, because it's kind of like you know what they're saying, but they may not know what they're saying unless they have the interpretation of tongues, and then God tells them what they're saying, because sometimes he will tell people who have the interpretation of tongues what they're saying, like I said a few minutes ago. But it's cool because I get to hear what they're saying, and it's not like it's not like I'm trying to, listen to what they're saying. It just automatically happens. Like, it's like everything like goes quiet except for what this person is saying beside me, or like behind me or something, or in front of me. Because there's sometimes where I will be, there will be a group of us or a few of us speaking in tongues, and then he'll like let me tune into what somebody's saying, and uh hear what they're saying, so that later on when I'm talking to this person, I can tell them what they said, so I can say, hey, this is what you were saying. This is what you were saying when you were speaking in tongues, and everything. And it's just so cool to be able to do that, because there's people who have told me that you can't understand what you can't understand what other people, you can't understand what other people are saying, and you can't understand what you're saying in tongues. But the people who have told me this don't know that there's a gift for people who can interpretate tongues. And I told them, I'm like, that one person told me, they're like, it's their own language with God. You can't understand what they're saying, but there actually is, and it's called interpreting tongues. Interpretation of tongues, I mean. And that you can understand them, so use it when needed to, but also use it when you're with a group of people and somebody says something and he wants you to interpret it, because that's what it's really for, is for when somebody says something in tongues, he usually wants somebody to interpret it to the other people so that they can understand it too, if you get what I'm saying. But yeah, I love having this gift of interpretation of tongues, because it was something that I wanted since I was like 14 years old. Since I was like 14 years old, I've always wanted the gift of interpretation of tongues. And then I was 15 years old when I was like, okay, I want to be able to speak in tongues, right? When I was like 13, I was at a family's house, some of my family's house, and they were talking about speaking in tongues, and I'm like, yeah, I don't speak in tongues. And they're like, yeah, I know you're not filled with the Holy Spirit yet. And I didn't know what they meant by that then. But then 2 years later, when I had first experienced what it actually was, I'm like, okay, I want that and everything. But when I was 14, I was like, I want the interpretation of tongues, even though I had like no clue what it was. And then I got it, last year, and I'm like, this is so cool because like I can understand what they're saying now. Because before I had received it, I used to sit, when people would speak in tongues, and I'm like, okay, God, I was like, is it just gonna come to me like that or something? And I'm like, do I have to do something? Do I have to like say something or anything? And then like I'll be able to register that, you know, I can like understand what's being spoken in tongues and everything. And he's like, no. He's like, you just gotta receive it, and then you'll be able to interpret it. So I did, and then I've been interpreting tongues ever since. And some people think it's cool that I can interpret tongues. Um, the people who don't know I actually can, and they find out I do, they're like, okay, I'm gonna say something, and then you interpret what I'm saying, okay? And I do, and then it's a cool gift for me that I've always wanted, and I'm glad that I have this gift. And if you want this gift, just ask God for it and then receive it, and then it will be yours. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and get off here. That's what I wanted to talk about today, and I will see you in the next video I post with my schedule when I will post and when I won't be posting, and other stuff, and I will probably have some other stuff to tell you in that video too. So I hope you all have a good day, have a good night, and I will all see you next time. Bye.